Alrighty guys, this is a special request and not officially part of my tutorial series, but it will be included in the series in very deep detail. So please hold off a lot of the major questions until I release the tutorial series. That way I don't have to answer the same question 50 million times, hence the reason I'm creating the course to save all the confusion. Let's get to the point. The point is, somebody asked me, how do you make lakes, waterways, dams, etc. like that? Okay, in simple terms, anytime you're placing a lake down, it is just an object like a tree. But there is a caveat to that. They don't get handled the same way as trees, because water, as we know, seeks its own level, and trees will mount themselves at different levels according to the elevation. So we have to be very specific about how we place them and the procedure that we use to put them down. This took me quite a while to figure out the best way to do it and the easiest workflow, and this is the workflow that I've come up with. So any suggestions are always welcome too. What do you need? First of all, a functioning map. In this case, I'm using my Rosebud, that's Rosebud with a Z, map, which I've been working on for 8 months. And this is Devil's Bend Reservoir. Devil's Bend Reservoir is based upon a QGIS map imported, and the only thing I found was the elevations for the banks weren't very good. So all I had to do was go into Bulldozer and set out a depth level of the lake, and then just run a smoother around the edge to create a nice little banked area so that the water's gradually deep. You can do that how you like, but remember, it has to be, in essence, a bowl that is going to hold liquid at one set level. If you have areas that are not set right, water will flow up onto your ground and all the rest of that. Anyway, let's get straight into it. What do you need? You're going to need all of your DayZ objects folder all extracted. So once you do go in, you need to add to your library manager the ponds. Please check out other videos or search how to do that. Adding objects is a fundamental part of using Terrain Builder. In my case, I use the Enoch 50 by 50 tiles. They are a square 50 by 50 tile. And the Enoch for me was a much nicer looking water than the Chinaris, which looked kind of toxic, yucky looking. So let's have a look. I will turn on, and there we can see a bunch of dots, which where I'm from looks like Aboriginal art. All the dots joined together. These aren't dots, in fact, they're actually squares, but they're represented by these hexagonal kind of circly thingos, for a better term. And you can see the waterway is made up of a bunch of dots. Please don't switch off yet, otherwise you're going to miss the most important part. So there's our height map, and you can see the depth. There it is turned on. Looks very simple. In fact, it's not that easy. Let's have a look. Here is my lake, or the Devil's Bend Reservoir, and as you can see, it's actually quite a large body of water. And when you sort of compare it in scale to something like the pier here, you start to get a visual reference of just the size of my lake. It's quite immense. Now I've put the boats on it and given it a run around with boats to test depth and all that, and found, don't go close to the shore, the boats do get stuck on that corner there. But as you can see, I've created an entire lake which is made up of dots. I've tried doing this through Terrain Processor and automating the process. Unfortunately, I've never found any great luck, even though I've put together scripts. I don't find they work terribly well. Here's what happens if you do it wrong. This is the nightmare that you're probably going to face if you attempt to do it the wrong way. So let's have a look at this. This was a dam that I was putting together. No, I haven't done any Terrain Builder trenching or anything. I'm going to highlight them all and delete them to get rid of them, so they're not there now. And I'm going to demonstrate the proper way that I've discovered to actually put down waterways. First thing you need, it must be a bowl shaped, and we can see it is there. It's a bowl shaped. How deep it is depends on how much you've carved out using Bulldozer. And all you need to do now is you need to first of all go into your add object, choose your tile. In my case, it's Enoch 50 by 50. And you want to drop one tile to begin with, just one tile. And when we look, we can see that that one tile is sitting right there. Okay, now we move it around and we notice, oh, what's happening here? It's glitchy. Correct. Set your first tile and the rest will work. Let me explain and follow this carefully. Pressing number 5 on your keyboard at the top left, you'll notice rotates your object mode. So we can see we're in scale, elevate, rotate, scale, elevate. Elevate is where we want to be. Using your right mouse button, you want to drag right or left to bring your water area tile up to the height you want. Now you want to get your first tile roughly where your bank's going to begin. Now keep in mind these are a square tile, right? And depending on the ground below it, it's going to affect how it sits. So what I do is I get one tile set first. Now I can see there it's sitting at that height. I'll just drop it down a bit and then drag it back, see how it goes. Okay. So let's zoom this in a bit so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Note the clean feathered edge there, right? That's the look we want to go for. And if I move it back, notice that sharp line, that's a no-no. Make sure that it's always feathered. Move it in so that all the edges are feathered. That way you won't have any funny looking waterways. That has now established our first waterway. Okay, now that's not very deep here. I know that because I haven't made it deep. But if it was deeper, there'd be a bigger gap beneath it. But in this case, it's not. But as it goes to the middle, it gets a little bit deeper. But it's only a small little dam and it's not full. So let's go back and have a look. Here's the crucial part. Once you've got your object down, your first one, you want to click on it so that it's highlighted. You'll tell because it turns light colored. And then make sure in Windows you've got open the Object Properties tab. That will bring up this window up over on the side here. And you'll note there's a bunch of information. What layer it's attached to, Devil Bend Reservoir, keep all mine attached. The ID number, what piece, and the scale. Please do not try to rescale one piece to fit your whole waterway. It will not work. It'll look like it's working, and then you'll run it in DayZ, and it doesn't work. You cannot resize or rotate waterway pieces. They literally have to be shoved in there in the scale they're in. So leave them at 1:1. Don't rescale them. Don't think you've come up with a clever idea. I thought I had, and it don't work. So, absolute height. First of all, we're following the elevation, and it's 78.178 meters above sea level. The relative height is 0.8187, 18 centimeters basically above the ground. So, this first one is your most crucial number, 78178. Whatever you do, you want to make sure you keep that number saved somewhere for reference. So there it is. That's actually what I had from earlier. So 78.178. That's our number. Now, all we have to do to add another tile is the same procedure. We go into the objects, choose the object we want to place one next to it, and then you can do this individually or lay all the tiles and then do it. But let me just show in the second tile. We can see that it's set the height different, and the height that we want is this. So we go copy, set our absolute height again, like this. And now when we go back, we'll have two tiles. Now you're going, oh, that doesn't match. No, because you've got to move them. See? Now, they have to be the same height. Otherwise, when you go side view or you're running along, you'll notice pieces are elevated above each other, layers of water. That is the fundamentals of laying your water. Please don't switch off, because here's where you can save a lot of time. So what you can do, if you want to save yourself a lot of time, you can do this. Take your objects, And I always slightly overlap them, right? So I will drop them around like this. They can be slightly apart, it doesn't really matter, but you want to slightly overlap them. Remember, the actual object's the square, it's not a hexagonal. And you'll drop them all on there like that. And the next thing you do is you'll highlight all of them. And in your absolute height, paste in that number that we had before, like that. And if we go back, we can see they're all sitting at the right height. And all you need to do now is basically play with some of these tiles that are mismatched. So occasionally you'll get a gap, see that? Bingo. And you can just move the tiles around to fill in the gaps, like that. And that is basically saving you a lot of frustration. See that sharp edge? We just blend that up. Same as this one here. Blend it up. And so on and so forth. Now, when you're all done and you're happy with everything, you can move things. Now, notice that tile there is incorrect. We can see the height's wrong. And if I was to go side view, you may not notice as much because it's only a very minute difference, but there is a height difference. If we look at, now if we look at it here, 78146, see the difference? So we paste that into there. That'll fix that tile. And if we go back, that tile is now sitting at the right level. Now, for some people, this may seem superfluous and pointless, but believe me, the amount of effort that I put in figuring out how to get waterways to be all the same level was not an easy process. And if the heights vary, all the heights must be the same height, like that. That's the only way it's actually going to work. And when you go back in, voila, your water levels will all be the same, and that's how you do it. Now, there's a little bit of finessing you have to do around your edges, but the same goes for the whole thing. Just go through, keep adding pieces, and you can just dot them together, and you are going to have to shuffle them around. It's a bit of a Jenga puzzle sometimes, but it doesn't take that long depending on size of your lake. And remember, if you've got a big lake like I do with the other one, it's worth the time. Remember, people spend days building in DayZ, the actual game, and the servers reset and they lose everything. Whereas when you're doing this is a permanent fixture, remember. So try and do it right the first time. And some of those pieces I put in will come up at different heights. See, they're not even showing up, they're underwater. How do we fix it? Once again, if we just select all of our pieces, there's a couple of ways you can select. You can use the lasso tool, which is kind of cool if you've got unusual shaped objects like this, and that'll select them. Oops, I double clicked like that, and then you can just go in here and just paste back in your absolute height like that, and then go back, and your waterways there. And apart from a bit of tile shuffling, which you'll have to do here and there to fill up these little gaps, that's the fundamentals in laying down a lake. Now look, I've done that almost half of that thing in that short period of time. So once again, make sure you choose your tile pieces. Make sure you do not rescale them, resize them. Make sure that the all of the pieces have the same absolute height on them. That'll ensure that they all work perfectly when you play the game itself. Otherwise, they do come out really quirky and frustrating. And then when you're done, just shuffle your tiles around to fill in your little gaps. And there you go. You've got a waterway. So thanks guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Please support my channel. Please like this video so that I can create more. And also stay tuned for my tutorial series, which will cover everything. And you'll actually see the release of the Rosebud map itself. And I'll go into some really great details about features that are based inside of DayZ that people don't really know how to use or too scared of. I'll run all through those details as well. So hope this has been a handy video. It was a special request going out to someone who asked me on the Discord channel. Please subscribe and like and share, and also join my Discord channel, and I'll stay in touch. Thanks guys. All right, speak to you soon. Have a great DayZ.